What's going on, guys? I am so happy to be back with Vinland Saga for you guys. I know it's been a bit, but I finished catching up on some other manga that I was reading, and now Vinland Saga is going to be my top priority. So until I catch up with the series, expect a lot more Vinland Saga videos because I absolutely love and adore this series. Don't take the absence of videos to mean anything about how I feel about the series itself. Sometimes it just takes me a while to get back around to it, but I'm here. I'm going to be reviewing Book 8, which is volumes 15 and 16 of Vinland Saga, starting a new arc, going into a new segment of the series after the wonderful, amazing slave arc of Vinland Saga that was just absolutely incredible. One of my favorite manga arcs of all time, including all of manga. It was just like, it was so amazing and incredible, and I don't even know what other words to describe it as. It was emotional, heartfelt. Thorfinn just really came into his own as a character and really progressed and developed into just a absolutely iconic, heroic, and admirable figure, while he's still trying to deal with the remnants of his past that are constantly coming back to haunt him, as they will, I'm sure, as the series goes forward. Now, the thing I said about the end of the slave arc with Thorfinn returning back to Iceland and everything is that in a way you could have ended the series right there. I know it's called Vinland Saga and we never got to Vinland, but as far as like Thorfinn and his development, he's kind of come full circle and everything, and understood his teachings of what his father was trying to tell him when he was a small child and everything, and in a way, I mean, it wrapped up pretty nicely. But now moving forward, there is more that can be covered here. One is, of course, Vinland itself. We have to actually get there. We have to actually see what Vinland's all about, and if Thorfinn and Einar are actually going to be able to establish their world without violence and without hatred and all of that, and the world of peace, if they can actually make it happen, which both of them are uncertain as if it's actually a possibility with human nature and everything, but they're going to try anyways, which is awesome. So I can't wait to see what happens there. And I think another big part of what we're going to see moving forward with Vinland Saga, I would assume, is the kind of redemption of Thorfinn, even though he's come to a full understanding of what his father was trying to say, and he's trying to live his life without violence and trying to live in a violent, chaotic world, but with peace. He still has to atone for the horrible things he did. He killed a lot of people, and there is going to be kind of a cycle of violence with that. You know, it doesn't end. It's not just going to end because you decide to turn over a new leaf. There are other people out there that you hurt along the way that are going to be potentially coming after you, which is how this volume ends. But before I get to that, another theme of these volumes really has to do with, I believe, the place of women and where they were in history during the Viking ages. Now, I am not a history buff. I've talked about this before. Pretty much the majority of my Viking history is coming from Vinland Saga, so really don't listen to me when it comes to history or anything like that as far as this is concerned. But there are kind of roles established for men and women, especially in these times, as far as, you know, the men are the sailors and the fishermen and the fighters and the warriors, and the women are the nurturers that stay home with the children and bear children, and, you know, marriages are to unite bloodlines and they're for political means and everything. And so everything is very superficial, and the women are kind of just like along for the ride. I mean, they kind of just have to do these things that are expected of them. The men have to do things that are expected of them as well, but for the women, it's a lot more, I don't want to say as if they're property, but it's a lot more of less decision making on their own, where a man could perhaps decide if he wants to be an explorer or a warrior or a fisherman or a farmer or anything like that. The women are kind of pretty much set in their roles as you get married, you have children, you raise those children. And women are very good at those things, but at the same time, it eliminates the freedom of choice. And even if that choice is something that's going to harm you, perhaps in the long run, you should still be able to make the choice as a human being, having, you know, control, autonomy over your own body and wills and desires. And so I think it's interesting that Yukimura is focusing on the female aspect as far as Vinland Saga moving forward, because we focus a lot on the male characters. You know, we've been following Thorfinn and Einar and everything. And so I think it's cool that he's diving into that. At the same time, I hope that doesn't overtake the story moving forward. I hope it really does stay focused on Thorfinn, because Thorfinn is our main character and everything. But I do like the idea of him throwing that in there. With Gudrid, which is a character that was married to the brother of Leif Erikson, though she's much younger than Leif is. And now she's said to be wed to Sigurd, who is the son of Halfdan, who we actually saw back in Volume 1. And he was the slave owner that had the slave that wandered into Thor's this village, and Thor's kind of like held his hand and told him, you know, the story of Vinland, and gave him kind of a peaceful mindset on his deathbed, and also paid for him, by the way, like giving away the sheep that they definitely needed, but he wanted to have this man have this last little bit of hope in his last moments. And it was something that Thorfinn didn't understand as a child, and I think understands much more now. So the reason they even need to get to Halfdan is to acquire some kind of funds in order to allow themselves to get to Vinland, because Thorfinn has nothing, and Leif Erikson's going to help him. He's a great explorer, adventurer, real historical character and everything, but they still need the means. They have the idea, but they don't have the actual capabilities to get there. But it focuses primarily on Gudrid, and so far I think she's an interesting character. I think what she represents is interesting because, like I said, she's this woman that wants to be a sailor, and you know, she tries it a bit, and you know, Leif Erikson is always telling her not to, because of basically because of the fact she's a woman. And there is one scene where I really like the one scene where she does try to like move a particular like object, I forget what it was, like on the ship, and she does struggle with it, but she manages to do it. And she's saying, like, if I was a man, then I would be able to be a sailor, right? I did the thing that you asked of me, and he kind of had to admit that, yeah, that's what would have happened. But unfortunately you're not, and you have to marry Sigurd. But she has this moment where she's sort of like allowing herself to be in that role. She goes through with the marriage and everything, and then on the wedding night, the consummation of the marriage, which, looking at Sigurd, like I don't blame any woman for not wanting to get with that. But anyways, her body kind of takes over, like natural instinct. He comes like on her, he comes over top of her, and she just thinks no, and she stabs him in the leg, like completely unmeaning to, which I thought actually worked. I thought it actually worked because it was just an instinct, you know, that went through her. It wasn't even like something she could have done. You know, she could have like smacked him, she could have like pushed him, she could have like resisted a little bit, whatever. There was a lot of things she could do, but there was just this instinct of like, this guy is despicable, he's on top of me right now, I need to get him off as soon as possible. And so she stabs him, not fatally of course, but she manages to escape, and Thorfinn allows her onto the ship, which is causing more problems for Thorfinn. But he sees and he understands that, you know, this person should have the ability to choose. I think he saw something just like what his father saw back in Volume 1 with the original escaped slave. And there's also this parallel with this bird that should have migrated south but didn't, and it was still around, and Halfdan kept it in a cage, and Thorfinn questioned him about it, and he's like, if I let him out of the cage, he's gonna die, he's not gonna make it, he's not strong enough. And Thorfinn's like, well, shouldn't the bird still be able to decide? And they let the bird out, and it does fly away with the knowledge that, well, not the bird, that the bird has the knowledge, but the characters have the knowledge that the bird most likely won't make it. So the bird will most likely die, but the idea behind it is that it was still able to make its own decision. And so that parallels directly with Gudrid, who you know, doesn't have the training to be a sailor, doesn't necessarily have the strength that like a male sailor would have at the time, but she should still be able to decide her fate. So even if she fails being a sailor, that's better than just complying and being a slave to the role that she was placed into. So I think that's kind of the idea behind it moving forward. And so she's off with Thorfinn and the others as they go to try to sell these narwhal horns, which is kind of cool. So they need to travel far away from Vinland first to acquire more funds, and then they'll travel back towards Vinland after that. So I'm sure a bunch of shit is going to go down before we even get there. And of course Sigurd is pissed, and he's after them as well. A couple of other things to note that happens is they find a child, a baby, that was a remnant of a massacred family from these kind of warring families, and the only thing that was left was a baby. The mother was alive just long enough to give the baby to Thorfinn, who's like, I don't know how to take care of a baby, you know? I was a soldier from the time I was basically a baby to a young adult, and then I was a slave, so he's got no like context whatsoever of how to take care of a baby, and he just assumes like, you know, Gudrid, oh, you have breasts, can you like feed this baby? And she's like, Thorfinn, women have to actually like have had a baby in order to produce the milk. And he's just like, really? And he just, but I don't blame him, because like, how would he know? He literally, like, he spent his entire life doing other shit like that nobody was around to ever teach him. So I kind of like that. It was a humorous moment. But now also, so he has the stowaway of Gudrid on his boat, and now he also has a baby too. So like, it's showing that the pacifism and the accepting nature of Thorfinn is now causing, you know, these burdens to kind of pile up on him. Not that he shouldn't take the baby, not that he shouldn't accept Gudrid, but it's showing that, like, you know, you try to do the right thing and it's gonna get hard. It's very difficult. Like, doing the right thing is hard, and that's a lot of the times how you know that it's the right thing to do, because it's the most strenuous. But you know, just like with trying to figure out a way to stop violence, to, you know, to stop evil people without violence, how do you do it? It's a whole thing, and that's the crux of Vinland Saga. That's what it's all about. It's like, how do good people survive in chaotic worlds? And at the very end of this volume, I know some people have been wanting me to mention this because they're excited about it, they've talked about it, I've heard remnants of this character by people that have spoke to me in the comments and on Discord and everything, the character of Hild. Now, I only got a little bit of her in like the very last chapter, so I don't really know what to say. She is a hunter as far as I can see, and she had a father that was killed by Thorfinn. Now, Thorfinn mentions a specific moment, but yeah, I don't think it was actually shown in the manga. But if it is, let me know where it is so that I can check it out. But yeah, so she finds out Thorfinn's name, she hears his name right away, and rises up her crossbow to attack him, and that's literally where the volume ends. So I don't have anything to say on that, other than this is also probably going into the theme of you know, women escaping the kind of roles that they were put on at the time, like during this portion of history, and doing something different, as she's a hunter, a very skilled one that manages to kill a bear, actually. Her and Gudrid are probably representing that together, and I don't know if they'll form some sort of alliance, or if Hild's anger and adversary towards Thorfinn is basically going to be how Thorfinn felt towards Askeladd, and it's going to be like the repeat of the cycle, as I was talking a little bit about earlier, because, you know, as much as he's turned over a new leaf and he's a new person now, he can't escape the atrocities that he did when he was younger, and so I'm sure all of that is going to come back to bite him, just how like Rurouni Kenshin, something like that, you know, where the history of the character does not bode well for the present day of the character. So we'll see where that goes. So this was awesome. Really like this volume. I like where it's going. I mean, so far, obviously, it doesn't even pale in comparison to the Slave arc or the opening first arc or anything, but we're setting the stages. You know, these two volumes, they really feel like the setup for something that's going to come down the line. We're meeting the characters, we're getting into a new part of the world, sailing on an adventure. Einar's still here. Love that dude. So I'm excited to see where it goes. So what did you guys think about volumes? So it'd be technically 15 and 16, but it would be book 8 if you have the books of Vinland Saga. So what did you think about those? Put all the comments down below. Give me a little bit of teases about what I'm looking forward to, and I will be definitely getting more Vinland Saga videos and reviews out to you guys as soon as possible. I want to finish this series before the end of the year, definitely. So anyways, if you like this video, please comment down below, give it a like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, all that stuff. You guys know. You see it in every YouTube video. You fucking know what you're doing. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I'll talk to you next time.